and Davila. Investigators say it all stemmed from some sort of argument. The suspect has warrants out for felony murder and aggravated assault.
I guess somebody decided to take the camera out, maybe? I don't know. Huh.
It was the third time since September that she said Democrats would violate Senate rules by using the legislation to help immigrants and should remove immigration provisions from the bill. But it all but certainly means Democrats will ultimately have to pull the proposal when the Senate considers the overall legislation, which is currently stalled. Democrats are expected to try reviving the immigration provisions, or perhaps even stronger language, giving migrants only to become permanent residents or citizens, though. Still, such efforts would face solid opposition from Republicans and probably a small number of Democrats, which would be enough for a defeat in the 50-50 chamber.
Taliban Deputy Foreign Minister Sher Mohammad Abbas Stanitsky said the freezing of Afghanistan's assets by the U.S. government was mostly hurting ordinary Afghans. Stanitsky also said that if the international community wanted to control the migration crisis in Afghanistan, it must restart working on the basic infrastructure of the country to persuade Afghans to return. Afghanistan is facing a looming economic meltdown and humanitarian catastrophe in the aftermath of the Taliban takeover.
And added the extra security as just a precaution.
I think every school in the country that's aware of this is going to be on heightened alert tomorrow. That's terrorism, quite frankly. You can't make a bomb threat. You can't call up an airline and say there's a bomb on your plane. It's the same thing.
Some posts reportedly encourage students to bring guns to school. TikTok released a statement saying they have not found videos stating the actual threat, only videos discussing the rumors and warning others to stay safe. Well, some employees...
Credit cards are held in front of him. Hold Happy Asking Panda over the keyboard while entering passwords and watch him dance.
I love you, Happy Asking Panda. Upload complete.
Vulnerable and to check and make sure that they're not vulnerable.
Several U.S. agencies are taking urgent action to detect threatening activity. Since the vulnerability was discovered late last week, there have already been hundreds of thousands of hacking attempts on U.S. computer systems.
The clock starting.
Gruff, you want me to pick up? So right to McGruff.
Oh, you're giving the address.
So I'll get the protect themselves. Help take a bite out of crime.
And don't forget to bark at it.
With only 33 out of 48 mayors able to report back to him due to downed communications. Officials were trying to confirm a sizable number of deaths caused by landslides and extensive flooding elsewhere. Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte flew to the region on Saturday and promised 2 billion pesos in new aid, although he admitted money was a bit tight due to the that is bearing down on us, end quote. Rudd says the government's new order builds on an existing partial lockdown already in force that requires bars, restaurants, and other public gathering places, such as cinemas and theaters, to close at 5 p.m. Taliban beneath the wing of a Boeing 747 aircraft off the coast of Southern California reached orbit. In February, Christie's in New York put a treasure trove of space rocks under the hammer, including one of the largest lunar slices on Earth, which sold for over $500,000. Now,
decide on whether to allow work on Georgia's spaceport to move forward. The proposed launch pad would be built on Cumberland Island in Camden County. If the project moves forward, additional research will still be needed in order to allow rocket launches. Fox Sports analyst and former Atlanta Braves outfielder
issue in the fight against climate change. But the couple says that cattle is crucial for their system to work. 2 years ago, the Trethways were the first farmers in Tasmania to register a soil carbon project with the federal government's emissions reduction fund. But money is not really the main focus here, since carbon-rich soils produce more crop. And Associate Professor Matthew Harrison of the Tasmanian Institute of Agriculture says that the greatest benefit from carbon farming is through the co-benefits for livestock and for crop production. And taking a look at restarting Afghanistan's banking systems. Khan seemed to offer Taliban a pass on the limits on education for girls, urging the world to understand, quote, cultural sensitivities, and saying human rights and women's rights meant different things in different countries. The dire warnings called for the U.S. and other nations to ease sanctions, including the release upward of $10 billion in frozen funds following the Taliban takeover of Kabul on August 15th. Taliban Deputy Foreign Minister Sher Mohammad Abbas Stanitsky said the freezing of Afghanistan's assets by the U.S. government was mostly hurting ordinary Afghans. Stanitsky also said that if the international community wanted to control the migration crisis in Afghanistan, it must restart working on the basic infrastructure of the country to persuade Afghans to return. Afghanistan is facing a looming economic meltdown and humanitarian catastrophe in the aftermath of the Taliban takeover.
Don't want to do nothing to nobody. So, you want to do something to somebody? Exactly.
Does Maggie seem different to you? I'm worried.
Marge, let me put it this way. We can't be bad parents because bad parents can't get their kid into the finest preschool in town.
And York County History Center. The items were recovered as part of an investigation into the 1971 theft and 2018 sale of a rare surviving 1775 rifle made by Pennsylvania master gunsmith Christian Order. The UK's
Gruff, you want me to pick up? So right to McGruff. Oh, you're giving the address. So I'll get the protect themselves. Help take a bite out of crime. And don't forget to bark at it.
But since there's a labor shortage, prices are going up if you want to see the rosy nose of St. Nicholas in person. His little helpers and Mrs. Claus are also harder to find. A tight job market has meant many of them have found better and higher paying jobs elsewhere this holiday season.
We'll never turn on Tony. He's my cousin. I thought he was my cousin. Well, he's somebody's cousin, and in this world, that's what counts. Gruff, you want me to pick up? So right to McGruff. Oh, you're giving the address. So I'll get the protect themselves. Help take a bite out of crime. And don't forget to bark at it.